Had to take a weekend
off. We took a few weeks off. I'm sorry about not being consistent. Need to start being more consistent and be better communication with my co-host.
I also got sick, so yeah, my whole house got sick. It was just a plague.
You had the corona. I'm just
playing. The plague.
You had the plague. Bad. You didn't have no corona. We don't want none of that. Nobody don't want it. We don't want none of that. But nah, man, we've been off, and we know we got some catching up to do on Kengan Omega this month, y'all. Too. I'm gonna say it now. We're gonna try to get up. We'll try to get caught up as much as we can on Kengan because we're gonna start the journey of the Piece of One.
Oh my god!
Yes, I cannot. Y'all don't understand. The One Piece hype is real. Tim is ready. We got so much.
It seems like I'm not excited. I am. It's just I've never experienced a series that's that big.
But it's so good. One Piece.
I've never had to burn through a series that big at the rate we're gonna have to cover it.
You're gonna need to cut. You're gonna take notes. Ev, man, tell him One Piece is gonna be golden. Oh,
it's gonna be a lot of fun.
But I said it before. This is like the perfect time to get into it because it's in the final saga as far as the manga is right now.
Yeah. Yep, we got Wano just ended. Like, there's a lot of stuff. I'm have to be quiet on a lot of stuff because another guy will be coming, and I didn't want you and Eddie go talk more because I don't want to ruin nothing. It's so much that God, I'm gonna get hyped. It's just I can't wait to start it over. Like I said, reading it through your eyes is gonna be amazing. The 26th, y'all. Sorry, February 26th this month, starting the One Piece podcast. So if you guys want to do it by chapters, of course, and you guys want to read with us and follow along with us.
Some of those early arcs we can probably cover in a full episode.
Oh yeah, it's
I think there's probably maybe only like 3 arcs that's gonna happen.
Yeah,
even early on,
because
it's gonna be ugly, bro.
Alabasta was the first real long one.
Yep.
So before that, you had
not really. Like Arlong Park was pretty long too.
Arlong Park was long. Drum Kingdom was pretty long. And then when we get to the bigger stuff like Enos Lobby and Water 7,
that's when we start getting into sagas instead of just arcs.
We get to those. Woo! But make a note of y'all calendars. 26 y'all this month. We're covering One Piece. So fun. I have another co-host with us, and we're gonna take this long journey. So I hope you guys tune in. And
I'm gonna see if Esteban would be free one of those days.
Oh, we're gonna have now. I'm gonna definitely have a lot of guests. A lot of people, but I told people about this a year ago, and I was gonna do One Piece content. He's like, bro, let me be a guest on One Piece. Let me be a guest. So this channel might be like full, like 5 deep. Might be more. It might be a lot of dudes on One Piece, and I might have to organize that pretty well to make sure we don't talk over each other because it's One Piece.
But let's get into this Kengan.
Oh my God, Kengan! It's a lot of exposition in these few chapters.
Yeah.
So we ended off on a really good note.
We ended last time with the death of Ario.
Yeah.
Ario Kore.
Yep.
And
sad death.
He managed to basically be the pawn in the chess game that got sacrificed so that they could kill Edward Wu.
Because that was getting jumped.
And man, I gotta tell you, there hasn't been a whole characters that got like killed in Kengan that deserved it more than Edward.
Oh yeah, Edward then Ryan gave him the punch to the face. Like
he practically tore his head off, didn't he?
But it was
yeah. He stuck his finger in that little hole that the knife made and just drug it through.
Bruh. That's right. And it looked like it did tear his head off, but it didn't. Like it looked like it severed.
It was just like a big gaping wound. Like his head was kind of separated from the rest of his body. It was gross.
I was like, oh, but Irio made the sacrifice, but at the bigger sacrifice, he ended up losing his life and left family behind and everything. But in the same note, I feel bad. I feel bad for Oma.
Yeah,
I feel bad for Oma. So as we get to that, we 3 months have passed.
Yeah, time skip. Another time skip.
Time skip since the tournament ended and Kengan came out on victory. Our life has changed. Our actual main character, Koga, has went through some development.
Yeah. Which I think is actually interesting too, how they brought Oma back after Kengan Ashura, but he's not really the main character anymore.
That makes sense though. I mean, Oma had a whole series about him, so I guess it's kind of carried it towards he's like a background support character now.
Yeah,
his character arc is done.
Yeah. Oma,
yeah, I suppose that's true.
Oma did what they developed Oma the best they could and developed him well.
Actually, I don't think that his character arc is done because the worm still has something to do with him, but we just don't know what it is.
Oh, and then
so that's coming, but
and Tiger Nico.
Yeah, but in terms of Oma discovering his true potential and his like and overcoming the obstacles that were in his way in the beginning, yes, that character arc it really has reached its end.
Yeah.
And now we're kind of focusing a little more on Koga, who is a younger fighter who has a lot of latent potential, but he's not as outwardly gifted right out of the gate as somebody like Oma. He's had to work very, very hard to reach a point where he is a legitimate threat.
Yeah, and the way, well, when we get further chapters on, you'll see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
No, I was just saying in this particular one, like when the time skip first happened, if I'm not mistaken, Oma and Carla are getting ready for Ario's funeral, and Koga and Kazuo are leaving to go to said funeral. Am I correct on that one, Everett?
No. I don't think it was just backtracking.
Oh, it was backtracking.
That was just backtracking. They were leaving from somewhere else.
Oh,
yeah. The time skip part is like afterwards where like Oma is talking to Koga about kind of what happened afterwards. And Koga's like, do you think you're ever going to fight again? And he's like, I don't know. It depends on if I like find like a reason to fight at this point. And then they're actually kind of walking past the area where they had their first fight together back when Koga was just kind of a street punk. And then Koga asks him, like, hey, do you mind fighting me now?
Yeah, actually, I think shortly before that is when Koga actually meets up with Masaki.
He
meets up with Masaki for lunch, and Masaki is kind of like
actually nonchalant about it.
He's completely nonchalant about the death of his father, and
the worm killed him.
I think it's because it was like it was reported as it was like an accident. Like nobody knows that Masaki just murdered him.
Yeah.
I mean, you see the little panel when you read it of Hayami just like folded in half from where Masaki just like dumped him on his head.
I mean, it makes sense. You can use that excuse. The worm was involved.
Yeah.
He said he killed him.
I mean, what's interesting is like this is kind of a parallel to that, but in real life, in times of like chaos and stuff, people will take advantage of that. Like, in like World War II during the Blitz with the British, I mean, street gangs started up and making people disappear in the chaos of the bombings, and then being like, we don't know what happened to them. Maybe the bombs got them. And I think that that's kind of the same concept of what Masaki did here, where he's like, he killed Hayami and then was like, I don't know what happened to that guy. I guess the worm killed him.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know,
everything going on.
I think that's kind of an interesting parallel because that is something that does happen in real life, like chaotic situations.
And he's nonchalant, and Koga was just checking on him, and he's just like, his uncle took over Toyo Electric Power and is running it now. And he said basically he's a better fit than Hayami was.
Yeah, and like the kind of vibe that I get from him is that his uncle is a little more of an even-headed, not the kind of person you would qualify as a villain. He's probably he's probably, a stern person and he knows how to run a business, but for the brief period of time we hear him described, it doesn't sound like he's the super villain that Hayami was.
Hayami just wanted power. He was
that was his singular
I think
goal.
he's just a figurehead at this point. And he'll
really?
I think it's like Hayami will be able to control him like significantly easier than like his father. So now we'll probably see him like kind of become more like Meguro in the sense that he'll probably be going around killing people now, because we know that. I think so, because as we know from when Masaki killed Hayami, is that he wasn't crazy. Meguro wasn't crazy because of what he did to him. Meguro was always like that.
That's true.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying that he's probably gonna go around and like killing people.
He was just born with that need to kill.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And so your thought there is that basically Masaki is going to kind of pull be in like a worm tongue position from Lord of the Rings, where he's not the king, but he's whispering in the king's ear.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Huh, interesting. I don't remember getting that vibe when I read it the first time, but that actually does make sense.
It's a possibility. I mean, he's got some power now.
Yeah.
And he can pretty much tell his uncle what.
Such a public figure, and he's running Toyo Electric Power. It probably is going to be a bit hard for him to develop into a serial killer like Meguro and not get caught.
I mean, heck,
it's going to be nearly impossible. But actually, after with Masaki, he actually goes to training, and he's training with Cosmo and Adam and Kureishi. That's the guy's name. I always forget his name. I don't know why, but they really are talking about how much progress Koga's made, and it really does kind of, because I remember reading this at the time, and I'm like, I really want to see where Koga is now, as opposed to 20, 30 chapters old.
Yeah, as we get on, we know his character development is interesting.
He actually in terms of, I would say his character development has actually been better than Oma's was in the first one.
Well, Oma had it rough.
Oma had it rough, but
when you think about it, Oma's character development was done in reverse, because he forgot a lot of his development because of his overuse of the advance. So he was more like he was going back to the way that he used to be.
Kind of regressing.
Kind of a get back to basics feel. Whereas I feel like in terms of character development with Koga, I think that there's a lot of layers to Koga as a character now. Because not only does he want to be strong, not only does he want to learn how to be a good fighter, one of the best fighters there is, but it's why he does it.
Yeah.
I feel like his ambitions and his goals have changed the more he's been around Oma and people like Paolong and Kano. He's been around like the world's greatest underground fighters, and he's seen that what drives them is like not what drives him. And so he's kind of had to shift his perspective a little bit on what does he want to accomplish as a fighter.
Yeah, the Purgatory.
Excuse me 1 second, real quick.
Are you good? The Purgatory Kengan tournament really did his eyes, though. Probably to a lot.
Yeah, because he was already like, even very early in, he was like realizing that he was really outclassed. Like,
after looking at that tournament,
all these people were way above his league. And that's why, like, after the tournament is over, and like Oma beat Lalong, and like it actually wasn't that difficult of a fight because Oma was still healthy enough to want to go after Tiger Nico. And so he
Oh
was
yeah.
that and like Koga looked at him, he was like, I'll catch up to you in 1 year. There was like an omake that came out a little bit ago, not a little bit ago, like earlier on in Omega, where because Koga's beef with Oma, like wanting to surpass him was because Oma called him weak. And like that was his initial like wanting to progress. And then he saw Oma's old matches in the Kengan Annihilation tournament and like how he fought then, and he's like, this is the man that I want to surpass. And like that's where he's like kind of evolving to now is he's as we see, he's learning from a bunch of other fighters in the series and trying to like solidify his skill set.
Yeah. But then like as the chapter, the first chapter we're actually starting on, as it comes to a close, that's when Koga is talking with Oma and he's asking Oma for a fight. And then we shift over to
K-pop Setsuna.
Yeah, Setsuna and Ryuki. And they have a very brief conversation to kind of end the chapter. And I believe it is Setsuna, who says basically like, yes, Ryuki, let's go set the world right again. Now, as a short like peek into the future, we're still not really 100% sure what Setsuna and Ryuki's goals are. That hasn't really been fleshed out yet, but just know that those two are up to something for the future. We're just not sure what their goal is yet. I mean, we know what Setsuna's goal is to a degree.
Yeah,
but we don't know the route he's going to take to achieve what he's after.
Yeah.
But then our next chapter, starts with with a little bit of family drama with the Wu clan.
The Edward faction is having some family what's the word?
Family feud.
Family feud.
Yeah.
Basically, it's
because now generation. That Edward is dead, they need a leader.
Yeah, there's a big vacuum
pretty much between the old generation of Wu members and the younger generation, the new generation. And the two people fighting is Edward's brother, Howard. They got these little generic names, Howard Wu.
Yeah.
But then we find out that Edward has a son.
Yeah, Gilbert, which is a stupid name.
Look, they got the most generic names for assassins. Gilbert, Edward.
Yeah.
Howard. But then they're basically feuding to see who's going to rule over the Wu clan after Eddie's death.
After Edward's death, they're basically it actually seems more that Gilbert is staking his claim, basically saying, you guys are old, you need to step over and let the younger generation.
That's what's pretty much his old generation versus
the
new.
And Edward's brother is kind of like, you really have no idea what you're dealing with. You have no idea like what we're capable of, let alone everyone else.
Yeah, and you're gonna take over a whole faction. Well, pretty much this leads to a feud between, like I said, the older, and they dress like gentlemen. They're assassins. They got one look like him. He about to kill over.
Oh yeah, there's one that looks like a mummy.
Yeah,
I believe his name is Bertrand.
Bertrand.
Yeah, he looks like the Crypt Keeper. To be honest, he's old as shit.
But then we got the younger members. They look all hip and edgy of Gilbert's a little, and they was making fun. He's like, you got your little gang.
Yeah,
and they got two twins. Like one dude, they pretty much look like it's pretty, like I said, old generation versus new generation.
Yeah,
of Wu Clan members.
And they get the scrap and
one of them took the L already.
So what you see is like a lot of the old generation just like picking off some of Gilbert's people. Yeah, and Howard is just so proficient in using this like short sword that he has like on a rope and he's just swinging it around and cutting people up with it. And then we immediately cut to a panel of his brutally massacred corpse, and Gilbert is like, "Oh, sorry, I guess I've been banned from hell."
Yeah.
Like this look, it ended really quick. It was short and sweet, and like only one of the members out of Gilbert's crew lived. But the interesting part, quote me if I'm wrong, Ev. So basically, look, and he says there's only one true leader, and it shows Edward in the background. Is this the clone that he was talking about? That he had one more body?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the backup. The backup Wu-Hei.
You use the dang brainwashing on your son.
Oh, and this is actually at the end of that panel, towards the end of that little like segment of the chapter, they talk about how Howard and his older generation were a lot more moderate, and they were a lot more
civilized.
Yeah, civilized. Yeah. And whereas Gilbert and the new crew are just bloodthirsty, and they're willing to take it to like a damn near a terrorist level, whatever it is they're about to do. Probably declaring war on the Kores and the other Wu faction. And so basically we kind of get like you kind of get this vibe that with the death of the older generation, the only thing that was stemming the tide of a full-on war between all three factions is just, it's gone now.
Yep, and pretty much they're going to declare war on everybody. And then
we actually get to see, well, sort of, we get to see a character who we've heard about many times, but we never actually seen him. If I'm not
we
mistaken.
have not seen this person.
But it cuts to a completely different setting, and someone is reporting to someone else, saying that, basically confirming that Edward and Howard Wu are dead and that Gilbert has taken over. And the last panel is the man we see his back and the back of his head, and it says, "Will you be seeing him, Connector?" Now, we've heard the Connector mentioned several times now, but we don't know who he is yet.
Yep.
So that's really our first real glimpse at who the Connector is.
And then, Lord, I think after these couple of chapters, it was like subtle. And after that, stuff just started going crazy. So we go to Florence, Italy, and police are swarming the place, and tourists are just walking around. And then, I mean, they were just high alert for whatever reason. Nobody didn't know. And when the police officers are doing, they're just like, "Oh, it's this foreign stuff going around." People, basically, this dude, one of the police officers asked for an inspection of dude's bag, and this dude just pulls out a bomb.
Yeah. So essentially, the worm has escalated from really not doing anything to straight up terrorism.
Like, they blew up, and there was no survivors.
No, they blew up like an entire
plaza.
Yeah, like an entire plaza.
Like, and
blew it up. The worm has been like committing terrorist acts again.
Like, it got real.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's now been 2 years since the Kengan versus Purgatory tournament.
Oh, so we skipped time again? Is that right?
Yes.
Dang, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I didn't remember that, but either way, it does cut away from Florence, and where we now have Sheena and Sayaka are introducing fighters, because now that Purgatory has basically been absorbed into Kengan, both of our ring announcers are now a duo instead of one of one. And we see Utsubuki Kokoro once again, who, if I remember right, he way back in the beginning of Omega, he got one-shotted by Ryuki, right?
Yeah.
Because what happened was Kogo fought him in an alley to try to take his spot so he could fight Ryuki. And
Yeah.
Kokuro fucked him up.
He got bopped.
Yeah.
That shows how much Koga has evolved.
And if I remember right, that's what kept Kokoro out of the Kengan Purgatory matches.
Just because Ryuki.
Yeah, Ryuki. Yeah.
Yeah, Ryuki beat him and Ryuki took his spot.
Yeah, you're correct. And his opponent is Koga.
Yo, my boy came in looking ripped.
Yeah, he looks jacked, man. And first thing he says is, "It's about time I got a rematch with you."
And then we learn about the whole purgatory. Basically, he's actually in purgatory since like he had a license, like a limited time to be in Kengan for some reason. And he came back, and then basically since Kengan and purgatory kind of merged, he got a license to fight in purgatory and got a match in purgatory now.
Yeah. And is it here that they talk about Koga's like record in purgatory?
No,
or is that later on?
This is at the end of the fight. They will.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
basically, like this fight is just to show how advanced Koga has come, or like how much he's progressed.
And he sure has.
Years. Because he beats Kokoro without much difficulty at all.
Choked him out.
Yeah.
He straight up choked him out. And then Kazuo says something interesting. He says something about supernovas. And basically,
yeah. What was that all about?
Basically,
they're the five front runners of the new Kengan generation.
Yep.
Yeah, here they are, because I pulled up the panel and it's showing them now. So you have Leonardo Silva, I can't actually Namnat from Saigon, Koga, obviously,
the monk.
Yeah, the monk, Onada Ikai. You have Kim Jong-gi. Jong-gi, yeah. Excuse me. I missed the I. I thought that was an explanation.
And he's an A-lister in purgatory.
Was that the one who was going to replace Liu Danchen? They were talking about somebody. That was him? That's what I thought.
That was him.
Okay.
So then, after all that after they've introduced these characters, they don't really like go into a whole lot of detail about them yet. But they kind of just give you a little taste of who these front runners are. And we cut to Koga and Ryuki on the phone with each other, and he's like, "Hey, I beat Kokoro. I won my match." And of course, Ryuki's really supportive. He's, really good for you, man. That's awesome. Blah blah blah. And
Koga actually asked him, when is he gonna come back?
Yeah. Koga kind of asks him when he'll be back, and they actually agree to meet up in an hour from then. And he's like, "Cool." So Ryuki hangs up the phone. He's like, "Guess I'd better hurry,
bruh."
And he just like,
my boy did his turtle jump down the sewer.
Yeah, and of course Setsuna is down there.
We got somebody else. It's time for some justice, y'all.
Yeah, and Akuya. And that's what's strange here is that these three are going after the worm, unsanctioned. Because if you remember correctly, like all of the like major crime syndicates and the Kengan Association have now gotten together to talk about we got to do something about the worm.
Oh, that's gonna be next. That's gonna be next after this.
Oh, I thought that was earlier.
No. They ain't got to that. That's an important few chapters. Yeah. So now the three musketeers go in and basically try to raid and just murk the worm members that are.
There's something that we forgot to mention. Liu Tian is also down here.
Yes. He's at the very last part of the panel.
They didn't do much.
Or the very last part of the chapter. He's just sitting there.
And he was in the Guai-Hoon form.
Yeah, like halfway.
Yeah.
And he's like talking about Tiger Nico. Or rather, he's talking to Tiger Nico, but Tiger Nico's not there. He's just kind of like averring to
He
himself.
gave that man PTSD.
Well,
Tiger Nico have been messing with everybody.
That kind of seems to be what he does to everyone that he comes in contact with.
Like, so they bust compound and basically they just murk everybody there.
Yeah.
Like and then it's like Setsuno and Ryuki were just nonchalantly killing people, and they were just like, "Hey, watch your back." Oh, okay, cool. While putting the blade in somebody's face, Setsuno does rock Sasha's palm and twist two dudes' heads.
Yeah,
they were just nonchalantly killing people. Akuya batons some dude in the head.
Akuya actually intercepts Lutien as he's about to kill Ryuki, like because Ryuki doesn't see him coming. And Lutien kind of jumps out of nowhere, and then Akuya takes him, and
he's low key kind of struggling with him, though.
Yeah, this is actually, and Everett has mentioned this several times over the course of us talking about Omega, but this is where we start to see that Akuya is losing his edge.
Oh,
he's still as fast as he ever was, and he's still as strong as he ever was, but there's something that is going on that is causing him to
not be as effective as a fighter.
Yes, he's losing his effectiveness.
Like, because he had to kill Lutien with they just played him. Like, why'd you bring him back to get killed by a flashlight?
Well, here's the thing that not even like a lot of people are forgetting, because a lot of people had a problem with the fact that Lutien died like that. People forgot that the fact that Lutien is not a member of the Wu or the Kure, that using Guihun or the removal has extremely detrimental effects to your body.
Oh, that is true. Never mind. And he used it full against Kano, so it's having real effects. So yeah, that does make sense why he wasn't up to snuff. I mean, then he got bought by Kano as well, so that didn't make it any more better for his recovery.
Yeah, and actually, now that I'm saying that, there actually is a point where Akuya asks himself, like, am I losing my edge? Like, is my mission coming to an end?
Because Setsuno says something smart. He was like, "You look kind of pathetic sitting there."
Yeah, and that's when Koga meets up with Ryuki. Like, nothing happened. Like, Ryuki or
he climbed up the sewer. Like, nothing.
Koga just has no idea what's just transpired, which is interesting. But that's kind of when Akuya mentions the possibility of Ryuki being his successor.
He mentioned that though a while ago, kind of like.
Yeah, he mentions it again, is what I mean.
Yeah, I remember he mentioned a while ago when they fought, and he had that creepy look on his face. And then, so the next chapter, we were the next chapter, right?
Yep.
Next chapter, hey man, this is the man of gluttony for punishment.
Oh, Shaji.
Shaji is slumming it. After Eddie Wu gets clapped, he's basically on his own. And he basically failed to do anything to anybody.
Yeah.
And
there's a chapter that we kind of skipped past before that.
We did.
Yeah, where you see like a lot of groups from the underworld are meeting up because they need to deal with the worm.
Yeah,
because the worm is just doing.
One of them is an American. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The worm has been increasing its attacks around the globe.
Yeah,
and so now the underworld is getting together and they're like, we need to do something about them now.
Yeah. Well, and what's strange is it's not just underworld. One of them appears to be a general from the United States military, or not a general. He's a colonel because his name is Colonel Sanders, which I think is hysterical.
I thought about those like Sanders, huh?
I was like, you motherfuckers, man.
KFC.
Yeah,
good old.
That's where we're going.
Good old KFC.
But yeah, they basically, I mean, they spend an entire chapter talking about how we need to like form an alliance here. All of us, like, we all have our own agendas, but if the worm continues like this, we're all screwed.
Yeah, like and
so essentially, like, any sort of like beefs that the underworld had with any of the underworlders had with each other have been suspended. All the military leaders essentially have agreed to like look the other way on a lot of the criminal activities, as long as
they deal with the worm is dealt with.
Yeah, as long as the worm is dealt with, and as long as these criminal organizations are holding up their end of the bargain on this.
Yep. Oh, and then we see the guy who's Rio Hinaba's there.
Oh yeah, Rio is there. Yeah,
Hinaba's there, and basically the guy gives them basically this ultimatum. Basically, the Kure are definitely involved in the alliance. The faction is involved with them.
Yeah.
So
that's what Rio is telling them. That's what Inaba is telling them, is that basically just because the Kures aren't here right now doesn't mean that they're not in, because they're definitely
they're definitely
in.
Y'all gonna need every bit. And the guy was like, basically, if you help us, basically the Kure will not come after you. And if you need protection, you can get one of the Kure members to protect you. I'm like, hey man, give me that crazy one that was at the Annihilation. Give me Ryan.
Yeah.
I mean, so they have protection from any attack the worm makes, and the Kure's help. So I mean, basically the alliance has basically been made, and the worm definitely needs to be.
Yeah, and that's when we catch. We back to where we were.
We back to he's slumming it.
Yeah. He appears to be eating out of a duck, and two random dudes find him. They actually say, like, sorry to interrupt your dinner. And they basically abduct him and take him to places unknown. And that's when we actually meet the head of the worm, who is Shayan.
I think Shayan, yeah.
I'm not really good with these names.
Yeah, Shayan. He's Shaji's twin brother.
Yes, he is Shaji's twin brother, yes. And
but he's not the most important person here.
Yeah, and nonchalantly there's a guy just standing there with a fishing pole.
It's really funny that he's not the most important person there, even
though he's
the leader of the worm.
Yeah.
Bro, the leader of the worm, but the man, that's what I was like, it's not the head of the worm. He's not important at all in this panel. The guy behind you wants to talk to you, but he's just chilling fishing.
Yeah, and he actually doesn't even care about what he's talking to Zhaji about. He cares about his fishing pole. And his fishing pole's not working.
He's just so nonchalant.
If I remember correctly, he says to like
what do you want?
To Jan, he says to Jan, he's like, I'm taking your pole, it works better, basically.
And Jan is just like not like Shaji's even there. He's like, you're gonna get embarrassed. And then we finally get a name for the man, the myth.
Shen Wulong, yeah.
Shen Wulong, the connector. But he doesn't look dangerous, but Shaji is afraid. Like this dude
Shaji's terrified.
This dude doesn't look scary. That's the thing. He's not like an Edward Will. But obviously he's the connector, and this dude is obviously frightening. Like the panel that they showed where Shaji was talking to him. He was like, "What do you want?" He was like, "Can this wait?" And then the connectors, they were just talking, and basically he doesn't want to kill me. And they show a panel. I swear, when I read this, he looks like Shaji got cut up by the fishing pole.
Yeah. It actually, the way the panel is set up and the way that it look what's happened is, do you remember in the first Resident Evil movie when the guy got
laser cut it?
The dude got diced by scissors. That's what it looks like happened to Zhaji.
And I thought it really happened. I was like, yo, he just died?
Yeah. And it actually turns out all that it is like
his presence.
Yeah. Shaji is just kind of like thinking about what could have happened to him. And he's like thanking God that the connector doesn't sound angry.
Like he's not even paying. He doesn't even mind. He doesn't even care he's there.
He doesn't care about anything that's going on.
Like this fishing. Like this is the villain. This is the protagonist. And this is the antagonist that we're afraid of. Everybody he's just some nonchalant guy fishing. And then we get to the conversation between he said he was his brother, and like, oh, I don't care. He's like, I don't want to hear none of the excuses. And basically, the connector told him to go stir up trouble at the Kengan. At this, they already know about the alliance. Like they have ears everywhere, so they're not dumb. They know what's going on.
Yeah, and actually, the connector, I believe it's the connector, tells Shaji, he's like, yeah, just go mess with the Kengan association. He's like, just kill a couple of people. It doesn't matter who.
Like
he's like, you can kill members, you can kill fighters. It doesn't really matter as long as you shake them up.
Like, and he was just so nonchalant about it. And then Shaji gets pissed off.
Yeah, because his brother is essentially like
basically he's the screw up. Shaji is the screw up, and the older brother and the brother, the twin, is just like he's the smarter of the siblings.
Mm-hmm. He's definitely the golden child compared to Shaji. Now this is something that's interesting. Is towards the end of this conversation.
This next part,
where they say that the connector, I believe, says the worm's the most evil or the most infamous evil organization in the world. We've got plenty of followers and crooks who support us. And then Shayan says, we've accomplished our goal. The worm in its current form can cease to exist at any time.
That's wild that they still gonna do terrorist stuff though. Like they already did what they needed to do, and they say we can disband today, and it don't even matter.
Yeah,
but this is the most important part of the chapter here, where Jen is like, "Do you think your subordinates will be okay?" And he's like, "At least one of them, or probably both, could probably end up killed by Shaji." And because they describe Shaji as a dragon that should have been born a rat.
Yeah,
and that's interesting because the way this character looks, he was just basically somebody's lackey. He seemed like the head honcho in a sense, and then when Edward showed up, he was Edward the whole time. He just basically seemed like Edward's lapdog.
Yeah,
we seen him do a little bit, but when we get to the next few parts, and Edward said it makes sense now.
Yeah, Shaji is actually much more capable of a fighter than you think that he is.
Like, so when we get to these next few parts, it was surprising and that I didn't notice it. I did, but I didn't pay attention to it.
Yeah. So the end of this chapter is actually a really cool thing. Actually, Koga is on like what appears to be like a boat or
a resort
or something with Idemitsu, the leader or the head of Purgatory, and they're just kind of like talking, and they really just kind of seem to be hanging out.
Yeah.
And Koga kind of excuses himself, and that is when he walks into a courtyard.
Yo!
And we find out that Koga is now going to be training with Kano.
With the fifth thing of Metsudo. That's dope that he's getting training from Kano.
Yeah.
But the next person too.
He's training with Kano, but there's another person with him.
Bruh!
So long.
Yo, you have two of the best fighters to train with.
Yeah.
Bruh.
And
really, and as we see the issue that Koga has right now is that he's over relying on his fist eye. So he's not really reacting with his entire body. He's reacting literally with his eyes. And that's where Lalong comes in. He's like, you're not reacting to the inception of the attack. Yeah. And so that's why he's like, he flat out tells him, I'm going to punch you in the face and try to block it. And so he swings at him, but he stops his swing short because he actually would have hit Koga because Koga wasn't ready for it.
Yeah. And
it's so dope to see Lalong in like, he was in presence fighting against Oma. And he's just so nonchalant.
Well, and I think that actually says a lot about like the overall like vibe of the Purgatory is that none of those fighters, except for maybe Lu Dongsheng and Ryuki, none of those fighters seem to have any ill will towards each other.
Nicholas.
Oh, well, Nicholas, yeah.
Nicholas is a lost. And then good old Alan. Well, we know why he was there.
But, okay, the ones that are still alive and that aren't completely insane, none of them seem to have like bad feelings towards each other.
Well, hold on real quick. Hold your thought. What we didn't see one person after his fight when he got totally demolished by Miss Misa.
The fourth Fang.
Yeah, we didn't see him at all. Everybody else was beaten up. At least we saw them. He got demolished.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he literally, the only purpose he served in the story was to get completely fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, that was the only purpose he served. So if we never see him again, I'm sure it's a loss.
But boy,
there's also a more literal reason why we probably won't see Yumigahama again. It's because Darumeon hated drawing him.
Who?
The artist for Kengan, he hated drawing Yumigahama, which is why we'll probably never see him again. Yeah, he did not like drawing him.
I mean, I cannot imagine what purpose he could serve.
Like, you got,
if they were to even think about bringing him back.
Like, for what? You got bopped really bad.
So we actually end this here.
Yeah, I think we should end it on this chapter, just so that we don't go over it. And this is a really good place to end.
Yeah, this chapter does end with Kazuo walking through a crowd, and he's being tailed by somebody, but he doesn't seem aware of it because it's Kazuo, and he's not always the most astute person in the room. He's completely oblivious to the fact that he's being tailed
by who?
Actually, close enough that the person can reach out and grab him. And we find out that it's Shaji because actually Ryu Himuro,
the Ice Emperor,
just shoulder checks Shaji like out of nowhere,
bruh.
And that's kind of where that chapter ends, is with Rio basically telling Shaji, like, everyone important that you could go after, we've got them covered.
Like, Kengan was already a step ahead. The Worm was ahead, but Kengan was more of a step ahead because it didn't figure they'll go after Kazuo. Like, it's Kazuo.
Yeah,
they figured you'd go after him, but he hemmed him up in the alley.
Yeah, and he basically is like, you really think that we weren't going to be on high alert? You think we don't know that you're still out there? And Rio kind of basically says, like, you guys are really starting to get on my nerves, basically. And do you want to end it there, or do you want to end with the end of this particular sequence?
Let's end it right there, because the next part we can cover a lot more. I thought we would get to the 15 chapters, and we might just do 10. That will end it. That was a good spot.
I think 10 would be better.
That was a good spot because we could get a lot of surprises.
Yeah.
The next few chapters about Shaji.
Yeah, it's going to get wild.
So. Yeah. I'm looking, I said that was a good episode. Definitely good episode.
Yeah.
It was a good time with y'all as always. We covered quite a bit. Got after pretty much the aftermath of Kengan versus Purgatory. And Koga, the Ryu situation, the Worm is probably the biggest thing. Is trying to basically get rid of them, and a lot of stuff that's going to be happening, with the future. Like I said, the Worm, Tiger Nico's still out there. Gilbert Wu is in charge of the Wu clan now, basically, aka Edward Wu. Still,
they have a lot of loose ends to tie up.
Yeah, it's like Purgatory was like a move. Like, the tournament wasn't even the important thing.
I think that it was important.
No, it was.
It was important for its own reasons.
Yeah.
I think in terms of a plot, really what it was there to do was to illustrate, number one, that the Worm is everywhere.
Yep.
And to eventually bring out the fact that Tiger Nico is still out there.
I had a feeling he would be. There's no way, like, a dude like that would just be dead and no. I was like, oh.
Well, the thing is too, when Kiryu told him that the Nikos had killed each other when they fought, he was like insane when he was telling that story. So it makes sense because like his story could not have been reliable.
Yeah, he was halfway gone.
Well, and that's another thing that's kind of interesting that I don't think we've really touched on, is the fact that Kiryu actually seems to be in he seems to
Well,
be
he's
in charge of
completely
his
sane.
faculty.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's completely sane now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like in the tournament, you see how he looked. He looked all. He got his haircut.
Yeah.
He can't like he's got his basically he got his mind back because he was gone in regular.
It's because of the chi blockage that Oma did to him.
Yep, he was basically gone, and you know they even trying to go after Oma no more. Like he was just.
Well, I also think that he's not interested in Oma.
Well, he's definitely not interested. We know now who's caught his eye.
Yeah,
he's basically his clone has caught his eye. So we will pick up. Everett, did you want to record? Because Tim's gonna be gone. Would you just want to do me and you?
I'll be on vacation.
For Kengan?
Yeah. Would you be free again?
Would you be okay with like missing a session, Tim? Would that be all right with you?
Yeah, that's fine.
So.
Yeah, I could do that. I would say I was wanting to get caught up because, like I said, once we start One Piece, we'll be able to record Kengan. I mean, if y'all want to, we can do it during the week. We'll do something during the week or something like that.
What we can do is what we did last time and just like kind of let it progress before we hop back into it. And because this is going to take up, One Piece is going to take up the majority of the time, if not all of it.
I can't. You're right. I even know why I let up too. We got past the tournament. So yeah, One Piece. So and we starting. So we're gonna be not next weekend because next weekend is Valentine's Day. Well, Valentine's Day, people. And after that, we will start One Piece. We will do 10 chapters. That's it. One Piece is those are long chapters, and it's gonna be a lot of stuff in the chapter. We should be.
Yeah, there's a lot of information in One Piece chapter.
There's a lot of info. I'm gonna do 5 because it's gonna be a lot. I would say
we have a goal. We have a goal, and we'll get as far as we get in the time frame.
Yeah.
No,
I think that's the way to do it.
I said 10. I just thought about. I read chapters of One Piece, and they have a lot of info. They're kind of long too.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a lot. Take notes. If your memory not good, or if we're gonna be ready for the long journey.
Yeah. I was gonna tell you that, Tim. Like, this is a series that you definitely want to take notes on because even like the most subtle of things that you run across will have big implications later on.
Oh yeah,
right.
One Piece owed on something that happened like 5 arcs ago.
Yeah,
and they'll bring it up. So definitely take notes if you can. Just definitely take notes. It's gonna be a lot, but it's gonna be enjoyable. Don't worry.
Yep.
It's gonna be this One Piece podcast is gonna be amazing. Remember, y'all, February 26th. So we're gonna take probably a break from Kengan until it gets more caught up because One Piece is about to
take up a lot of time.
It's about to go down.
Yeah,
we went to the Grand Line, y'all. Finally, I've been waiting to One Piece content. My peoples, it was a great episode.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. Whoever tuned in, like, share, subscribe, comment to the Justin Anime podcast page on the YouTube channel. Check out the other videos there. I need to start learning how to edit to make these videos better. I said I try to get it all. I have to put the thumbnails up so it catches some attention of people. Get an intro. Probably get the intro in there. It's just so much time in the day to learn how to do all this. So, and pretty soon, if I don't record times, I have a baby on the way. So, I will have my hands full sometimes. So hopefully I can record. We try to record as much as we can. One Piece. Just keep y'all updated. So like, what do I record as it is now? And I'm like, what, baby? Got y'all. But hey, man, appreciate y'all. Great. Yep. Until next time, remember the 26th. When I'll be recording the next couple of weekends. The 26th, One Piece starts. So tune in. Y'all good one. Peace. Hold up. There we go.